Hi and welcome to the 64 doors. Today we're going to open door 1. Here we find the spark, and this is an archetype that is all about creativity and unique self-expression. We're going to explore the spark from a human design perspective and a gene key perspective. So here we have the Rave Mandala with all the astrological signs inside and all the gates, gene keys or hexagrams around. Right now, the sun is in Scorpio in gate 1, the earth is in Taurus in gate 2, and the design part of the cross is the 13 in Aquarius and the 7 in Leo. And these are all fixed signs. So we have a cross that is all in the G center and they are fixed signs. And they are going to make up 3 different incarnation crosses or 3 different activation sequences, because the sun is going to be for 6 days here in gate 1. And we're going to see here that the first part of where the sun is, the 1 and the 2, the sun and the earth, is going to be the same in the 3 crosses. But the other part, the design part, since this cross is not a 90-degree cross, but an 88-degree cross, it's going to shift. So we have the 7 and the 13, but then the 4 and the 49. This is the cross of the Sphinx that has the creativity of the 1 and the kind of orientation and the inner GPS that moves with intuition in the 2. That's for all of them. And then the Sphinx have the 7, the leadership of the 7, and the ability to listen and still be optimistic about where we're going. And then the cross of self-expression has the 4 and the 49. And the 4 has to do with an understanding, a forgiveness as well. The 49 has to do with principles or our needs or the way that we relate to each other. And that's also the same thing that you have in the cross of defiance. So you can learn about each gate by its own. And you can, of course, read this and kind of say, okay, this is actually part of like my love path or my destiny, because we say that the sun and the earth in the moment we were born, together with the sign sun and earth, this is making up 70% of who we are. This is like where the main neutrino stream got imprinted. So this is important. So speaking incarnation cross or activation sequence, very important. It's almost like you need to unlock this first in order to get access to all the rest, which is then in your gene keys, that would be all the red spheres and the blue spheres. And if you think about human design, it's like the body graphs. You have to kind of start to understand the top in order to be able to embody and really get into the rest of your design. If you go back to the standard view, we see that we have the 1 in the G center and it's pointing towards the throat center, and the 8. And here, the 8 is what we were calling the influencer in the 64 doors. We have the spark in the influencer, and it's the channel of inspiration, a design of being a creative role model. You're here to be creatively different from everyone else. Your life is about having the courage to stand out from the crowd. And simply by being yourself, you will always get the recognition you deserve. And that's the 1 and the 8 together. And now we have actually already opened the door. So I can go in here and look at the keyword self-expression, uniqueness, and eros. So here we have eros. We have the six closed lines or full lines in the hexagram, only yang lines. And it has this, like, it's the spark. It's the penetration, you could say. And then it's the internal motivator is trust the timing of the universe, positive attributes, self-motivated and groundbreaking. We have some Achilles heels, so can't control creativity. Nobody can. It's like how the universe is working. And so the same here, what we're saying is has to accept periods of rest and entropy. So we have creativity and we have rest, creativity and rest. We cannot just spark and spark and spark all the time. And a gene key or a human design term is melancholy, about not being seen as being different. So here we have individual circuitry, we have melancholy in the individual circuitry, and here it is to like the individual wants to be different, and here when that channel 1/8 can't be different, it's like, then there's melancholy. So if we go into the gene keys, we know that in the gene keys, we are always seeing all the activations on a frequency band from contracted and tense to open and kind of expansive and open-hearted. So here we have entropy in the low frequency. And that's like either the void or depression, or it can also actually be kind of frenetic activity in order to not feel the entropy. But it's like it's an activity that is kind of that doesn't have anything in it that is worth anything. Empty is probably a good word for it. And then the higher frequency is freshness, and the highest frequency is beauty. And here we see the one and the two. The one, they're on opposite sides of the wheel. The one has all these full lines, and the two has all these open lines. So here we have prime yin and prime yang. We're not calling them the feminine and the masculine. We're calling the second gene key the feminine, but it was also kind of the way shower. And then we are calling this the spark. So the way shower and the spark, we could say. So the spark is the energy, and the way shower is like orienting, is showing the way for that energy. And that is the sacred marriage of those polarities, the energy and the way shower. And it also makes me think about the harmonic gates, or no, yeah, the harmonic gates, and also the codon ring of water and of fire. So there's a lot of things, how they are woven together. So the 14 and the 8 are coming in here, creating the codon ring of fire, the codon ring of water, and the 2 and the 1 are the two first, and then we have the 63 and the 64, the last one, and they are creating really a kind of framework around the whole rest of all the gates of the I Ching. And that actually comes from the two first lines. So the yang has two yang lines, and then the two has two yin lines. And if we look at the 63 and 64, it's yang and yin and yang. So it's like those four bases that like create, there's a basis of everything in coded language. So I feel like everything is in this little spark. It was just a spark, but the universe is constantly just expanding and expanding and expanding. And the more we look into it, we see all these connections. Like I'm saying, oh, that's the codon ring here, and that's the codon ring there. And then they're programming partners. And then there's the harmonic gates that's also part of the codon ring of fire and water. So we're starting to see all these connections and geometries from just that spark that kind of felt in a way simple from the beginning. So here let's go into the codon ring right away, so I'm not just confusing you guys. So when inner divine fire is released through your DNA, you become capable of miraculous power. The codon ring of fire unites the two cities of beauty and boundlessness. As such, it represents the energetic gem at the heart of creation and the purpose of existence itself. To create that which is endlessly beautiful, and to imbue it with the awareness that it's endlessly beautiful. Genius is intimately connected to this idea of freshness and newness. When your fire is burning, everything wants to gather around you and partake of your warmth and inspiration. But when your fire dies to the mere flicker, it is as though you become unnoticeable. If you then try to rekindle your creativity through force of will, you will only end up making huge compromises, both with yourself and with others. For the ring of fire, life is either fully engaged or fully at rest. And this is like, I really want to like read out the whole thing because it's so important. I have the first gene key in my evolution. So this is my biggest challenge to be able to accept those moments when it's fully at rest, and to not go in either in the reactive shadow of being frenetic and trying to rekindle, or the repressive, to just kind of feel the melancholy, the depression, the darkness of that nothing happening. But really more and more, actually, I feel like it's my second gene key in a higher expression that's coming in, and the feminine that, or the way shower that says it's safe to trust everything. It's safe to trust this. And then it becomes the void. It becomes kind of the timeless and the boundaryless, and then you can float in that, and it's such a relaxation. But when you've been running away either from that by being frenetic, or by just not wanting to feel to feel the void, it's interesting that it's actually when you accept it, when you embrace it, when that second jinky comes in and says trust it, how like everything can change. I feel like in the one and the two, it's kind of the polarities of the universe. They can make you feel so lost, they can make you feel so entropic, they can make you feel so alone and so far out. But then when they come together and they teach you to trust them, they can show you all that beauty, they can show you all that unity and all that embrace. So it's hard to speak about this in words. That's why I wanted to read this, because it doesn't really make sense in words, because it's bigger than words. And I think anybody who has the one and the two these positions, in the activation sequence, or maybe in the vocation, can relate to this. And the victim here is the victim of numbness, and that's what you in a way don't want to feel. But it's also the state that you're going to be in when you don't accept that state of complete rest, of complete just, having to have patience for that creativity to kind of gestate inside of you before it can spark. And we have Scorpio energy, so it is about the deep dark waters as well. The I Ching. So here we have what we were speaking about, the pure yang, the heaven, energy moving throughout all time. Beauty revealed, freshness unfolding, or in the low frequency, entropy is empty potential. So that's the feeling of like that emptiness. Integral human design. So here is when we were saying about the channel of inspiration. Here's called the channel of originality. Disturbance at the low frequencies. So you could feel like, if you look at the shadow frequencies, you have the mediocrity of the 8 and you have the entropy of the 1. So that's kind of like disturbance. And then the higher frequency of freshness together with style is originality, and the highest frequency of exquisiteness together with beauty, that's magnificence. And we call it the stream of creativity, not the stream of, or not the circuitry, the individual circuitry, but it's basically the same thing. And it's the G center. The dream arc, it's the cockerel, the bull, and the firefly. I think we might even have it in the 64 door. Let's see if it's there. Here you have a lot of stuff. Yeah, so here we have the animals. Jane Addams, you can also go to her blog. It's also the mudra. This is kind of funny. She put the bullhead on Richard, and there's also a library that is on the website, where you can buy all the mudras, which is a beautiful way of embodying, especially these jinkies that are kind of a bit out there, a bit ungraspable. If you can tune into like the mudra, it's often going to ground them inside of your being. And here we also have the codon ring. So here, how I was saying, the 1 and the 8, this is the channel of inspiration. The 14 and the 2, this is the channel, the keeper of the keys. But then actually the ring of fire is the 1 and the 14, and the ring of water is the 1, 2 and the 8. So they have this very, very interesting geometry with each other. So 2 codon rings, 2 pair of programming partners, and it's also 2 channels. So everything is in these. And then we know that it's still not the whole story, because if we were looking at the basis, we would have to add in 63 and the 64. This is a great week to tune into your uniqueness and see what relationship you have to it. Does it feel good to be expressing in your creative, unique way? Or is it something that makes you feel like you are too much, or too weird, or too this and too that? I feel like it's really good to tune in as well to the influencer, the eighth. We have this connection between the G and the throat, which is the one and the eight. And the eight is what we call the influencer. And it teaches us about our unique style. And I remember when we were in the energy of the eighth, I was posting some personal photos and things and quotes on Facebook. And it was very interesting because I had a different crowd, different people than what usually are commenting and posting, that were telling me, oh wow, like it's so cool to see this side of you, and really tuning in with me and kind of playing with me. And then I also had some other people who were like, what is this? Why is this on Jinky Global? Like, who do you think you are? You know, and they didn't appreciate at all that I was tuning into something that was my unique self-expression. And I feel like the gene keys, when we're speaking about the living transmission, it actually wants us to be to embody the keys and to express them in our own unique way. So it's good for you to look at. Do you care a lot about what other people say, especially when it comes to the way that you express yourself, the way that you show up in the world? And it's also weak to tune into your feelings, your emotions, how you what are the things that you don't want to feel, and what are the patterns that you go into when you start to feel, for example, depression, or start to feel like a lack of creativity, or anything else that moves through you. What do? Are you somebody who becomes kind of frenetic? You're making yourself busy so you don't have to feel, you don't have to think. Or for example, are you somebody who wakes up one morning and it feels like you're like, why do I feel like this today? Yesterday in the morning I felt so good. And you kind of just like go under the cover, so you drown in that feeling. And this is really the one in the shadow frequency. Either it becomes busy and runs away, or it drowns in that entropy. And I can really say, when it comes to depression, having the 1-4 in my evolution, like, depression is not rest. If there is one state that is like sucking out energy you don't even have in you, that is depression. So whether you're running away, wasting your energy on like empty activity, or you're drowning under the covers in depression, you are not in that complete restful place that we were reading about in the codon ring. So really look at your patterns when there is something you don't want to feel. Like, how can you come in more to your naturalness of a human being that has like a physical body, an emotional body, a mental body, and allow emotions, allow feelings to move through you, and knowing that that is a process of gestation. After dusk comes dawn. If you allow these things to, like, this alchemy to happen inside of you, the spark that comes out on the other side is always going to be new and fresh. But if you run away from it, or you don't allow the alchemy to happen because you completely collapse, then you are losing that opportunity of being there when your energy is sparking again. And the third thing is about your creativity. And you can use the energy of the one to to create things. And I would say, since this is an energy that is kind of out there, like you were seeing, is like the polarities of the universe, or the prime yang, like, what does that really mean? So how can you use your energy and create something tangible, something with your hands, or maybe your whole body if you wanted to body painting or something? But use your creativity in something that you can see and feel and maybe even hold when the energy shifts. That can be grounding, and that can make it feel sometimes like those kind of that kind of peak and fall and peak and fall that the one can express itself as. Like, if we can have that, it can be something that you like go out in nature and pick up. If you can have that when you're feeling those, like, this kind of wave or this kind of peak, or however the rest and the creativity shows for you, that can ground you, and that can make you trust that your creativity is going to come back, and then next time something else new and fresh that wants to be created. So I'm wishing you all a beautiful transit, and I will be back next week.